and I share with you guys what I see in my visions of what is coming in our future. So if you like what you see, subscribe to my channel, like this video if you liked it. Comment down below your thoughts. I would love to communicate with you guys and share my videos, okay? It really does help me a lot, okay? Thank you, thank you. So today's title is The Three Little Pigs. We're going to decode the Three Little Pigs. What brought me up, what brought me to do this video is because I did a reading for you guys yesterday, or a channel message. I shared a channel message for you guys, and the Three Little Pigs was brought up on how I was basically trying to explain the channel message for you. So I'm going to decode the Three Little Pig and what it means, because I feel like there's something there that you guys need to know. I realize there's a different version of the Three Little Pigs. There's many different versions. I grew up with the hay, the sticks, and the bricks, but there's some that's like the sticks. Um, there's some without the. It's something else. Sticks. Oh, straws instead of hays. When it comes to the how the pig build their house. So there's different version of the Three Little Pigs. So let's read the story. The Three Little Pigs. Once upon a time, there was an old mother pig who had three little pigs and not enough food to feed them. So when they were old enough, she sent them out into the world to seek their fortunes. The first little pig was very lazy. He didn't want to work at all, and he built his house out of straw. The second little pig worked a little bit harder, but he was somewhat lazy too, and he built his house out of sticks. Then they sang and danced and played together the rest of the day. The third little pig worked hard all day and built his house with bricks. It was a sturdy house complete with a fine fireplace and chimney. It looked like it could withstand the strongest winds. The next day, a wolf happened to pass by the lane where the three little pigs lived, and he saw the straw house and he smelled the pig inside. He thought the pig would make a mighty fine meal, and his mouth began to water. So he knocked on the door and said, little pig, let me in, let me in." But the little pig saw the wolf's big paws through the keyhole, so he answered back, "No, no, no, not by the hairs of my chinny chin chin." Then the wolf showed his teeth and said, "Then I huff, and I puff, and I blow your house down." So he huffed, and he puffed, and he blew the house down. The wolf opened his jaw very wide and bit down as hard as he could. But the first little pig escaped and ran away to hide with the second little pig. The wolf continued down the lane, and he passed by the second house made of sticks. And he saw the house, and he smelled the pig inside. And his mouth began to water as he thought about the fine dinner they would make. So he knocked on the door and said, little pigs, let me in, let me in." But the little pigs saw the wolf's pointy ears through the keyhole, so they answered back, "No, no, no, not by the hairs of our chinny chin chin." So the wolf showed his teeth and said, "Then I huff, and I puff, and I blow your house down." So he huffed, and he puffed, and he blew the house down. The wolf was greedy, and he tried to catch both pigs at once, but he was too greedy and got neither. His big jaw clamped down on nothing but air, and the two little pigs scrambled away as fast as their little hooves would carry them. The wolf chased them down the lane, and he almost caught them, but they made it to the brick house and slammed the door closed before the wolf could catch them. The three little pigs the three little pigs, they were very frightened. They knew the wolf wanted to eat them, and that was very, very true. The wolf hadn't eaten all day, and he had worked up a large appetite, chasing the pigs around, and now he could smell all three of them inside, and he knew that the three little pigs would make a lovely feast. So the wolf knocked on the door and said, little pigs, let me in, let me in." But the little pigs saw the wolf's narrow eyes through the keyhole, so they answered back, "No, no, no, not by the hairs on our chinny chin chin." So the wolf showed his teeth and said, "Then I huff, and I puff, and I blow your house down." Well, he huffed, and he puffed, and he huffed, and he huffed, and he huffed, and he puffed, but he could not blow the house down. At last, he was so out of breath that he couldn't huff and he couldn't puff any more, so he stopped to rest and thought a bit. But this was too much. The wolf danced about with rage and swore he would come down the chimney and eat up the little pig for his supper. But while he was climbing up onto the roof, the little pig made up a blazing fire and put on a big pot full of water to boil. Then, just as the wolf was coming down the chimney, The little pig pulled off the lid and plop and fell the wolf into the scalding water. So the little pig put on the cover again, boiled the wolf up, and the three little pigs ate him for supper. Wow, this is a bit dark. This is a dark version, but the version I grew up with it didn't end that way. But apparently, the ending to this little pig story, the three little pig story, they ate the wolf at the end. So there's a message in this story, and there was a reason why I was led to do this decoding. There's something significant about the three little pigs. What I realized, the three little pigs represents our consciousness level. I know how that sounds, but it does. The first one, the first little pig built its home with, I believe, what was it? Straws. He built its home with straws. The first little pig was considered lazy. But I feel like the first little pig was very, very immature, very, very young mind and consciousness, okay? So this represents a child to me, the first pig. The second pig was, he worked a little bit harder than the first one, but he was still considered lazy. He built his house with sticks. So the second pig, tried. He put effort into his work, but he was still quite lazy. He wasn't quite mature yet. So that represents, I would say, adolescence when it comes to the mind. The third pig, he was a hard worker, studious. I got the word studious when it came to the third little pig. The third little pig also was someone who paid attention to details, someone who worked hard before play. And not only did this third little pig worked hard and make sure that it paid attention to details, it thought about the bigger picture. So this represents the consciousness of maturity. This mindset that the third little pig had is a very broad mind, very mature for its age. When I was doing the reading yesterday, it was a channel message that I did. I forgot which one. I did 2 channel messages yesterday. The three little pigs popped up. I believe many of you guys, no matter what your age is right now, some of you guys fall into the young child mindset. Doesn't matter if you're 30 years old, you can still have a child mindset. Some of you guys fall into the adolescent mindset, which is like a teenager. If you're following the traditional tarot, you will be at a night state of mind. Okay? When it comes to the third little pig, some of you guys are very, very wise for your age, very mature. So when I think about the third little pig conscious level, I'm thinking about the Queen of Swords. I'm thinking about the Emperor card, if you guys follow the traditional tarot. I'm thinking about the king. You represent someone who have like a boss energy mind, a leader, someone who is who think for themselves, someone who wow, very interesting. I didn't even thought about that. That's very good, yeah. But the third one also is someone who think for themselves. They don't follow what other people do. They don't pay attention to what other people have to do. But yeah, that's what I was getting with the three little pigs. The three little pigs represents our consciousness. If you really pay attention to the story, let me go back to the story because there was some other details that I picked up. The wolf. Let's talk about the wolf. I believe the wolf represents a part of ourselves. I believe for the first little pig, the child, it represents fear. I believe that represents fear. If you guys pay attention to the story, for the first little pig, when the first little pig saw the wolf, it said, let me go back. It says, once upon a time, the first little pig was very lazy. The other pig recorded. Okay, yeah, so the first little pig saw the wolf big paws through the keyhole, so he answered back, no, 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 not by the hairs of my chinny chin chin. So what the first little pig realized that there was danger outside its door, right? And all it saw was a paw. I believe this represents fear to the first little pig, especially when the wolf said, "I'm going to huff and I puff and blow your house down." When that wolf did that, I believe it was like fear took over the first pig to the point where the pig ran away from its I don't know how to explain it, but I really feel like the wolf represents fear for the first pig because the way that it saw its paws. Because the second pig, it saw its ear, right, and the third one, it saw its eyes. So that it's something about the what they saw. Because the first one was the paws, the second one was its ear, and the last one was its eyes. But the wolf represents fear. It represents what you're scared of, which is fear. But the paws, the ears, the eyes. Okay, let's start with the first one, the paws. Its hand. It's all it saw was its paws. And the second was all it saw was its ear. And I feel like the house, the home that they built, represents the state of their mind. We know that the level of their mind is different because the first one was the child, the second one is the adolescence, the third one is the mature mind. But I feel like the home represents its foundation of how strong their mind was. Obviously, the first two, mine was very, very. It didn't have a strong foundation, so that can represent, they didn't believe in themselves or what they were capable of. It doesn't. It's either they were full of ignorance or they lack belief in oneself, or they allow fear to overtake them. Because the third little pig was the only one that added different things to its house. It added a chimney and it added a roof. Hold on, let's go back to the third little pig. And not only did that, it actually was the one that destroyed the wolf. It actually the one that captured the wolf and boiled it in hot water with this story. And they ate the wolf. So that represents they ate their fear, like they defeated what scared them. But it took the third little pig to do something. Which I told you, the third little pig is the one with the mature mind, the one who's wiser beyond its ears. Because the first two, they were too afraid. They ran away. Especially when the wolf confronted them, all they did was ran. Even when the wolf destroyed its foundation, its home, they ran to the next um, pig until they found the right one. It kind of reminded me of Goldilocks. What's the story with not the three little bears? Is it called the three little bears? With Goldilocks? It reminded me of that. You know how she ate the porridge? The first one wasn't right, the second one was right, but the third one was just right. That's what I'm getting. There's something significant about that. It's like they had to keep trying until they got it right. Oh, this story is very interesting. How I'm decoding this. But I know it represents our conscious level. It represents our state of mind as well, like as far as like how strong it is or how weak it is. It starts very weak and it becomes stronger as like as you learn. It's like they learned. It became stronger. But the third little pig, it knew what to do because it was wiser beyond its years. It focused on details and it focused on working hard rather than play. Because the first two was always playing and dancing. Remember, if you follow the story, they just kept dancing and playing. But the third one just kept on working. Wow. I want to hear more with there was someone that commented something that really stuck to me. It says like the 3 talents given in the Bible. 1 talent, 5 talents, and 10 talents. But I feel like they had to earn that, right? Why were they given all those talent? Like why was the second and third one given all that talent? It had to be a certain reason, right? And I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that scripture in the Bible. I haven't read that one. If you could give any insight, I would love to hear more about that. It sounds very interesting. But this story remind me of, was it called the Goldilocks or Three Little Bears? It's been a long time, you guys, since I read these stories. But it reminded me of the Three Little Bears or Three Little, or is it called Goldilocks or Three Little Bears? For some reason, my mind is drawing a blank. And then I don't know why, but it's reminding me of the Three Wise Men. I don't know why. That just popped up. The Three Wise Men. Guess you were afraid before. I'm channeling right now, you guys. You were afraid in life, and then you decided to face your fear, but something you were afraid when you felt things were too scary. Things were too scary for you. You felt like life was too big. Life was bigger than you. You felt smaller than life. And then the second, when you tried to like step out your comfort zone, or you tried to um, face what was scaring you, you didn't like what people said. It's all about other people's projection, because if you guys go back, remember I told you each pig saw something in the keyhole. The first one saw its paws. So I feel like the paws represents um big shoes, like something's bigger than itself, or something's bigger than the pig, or something's that can represent life. It can represent a dream, a goal. It can represent it literally said big paws. It can represent anything to that pig or to you. But the second one, it says it saw its ear. There's something that you heard, or someone said to you, or something that you heard. So this could be people's projection, what people have said to you that may have discouraged you from facing whatever was scaring you. This whatever was scaring you, I feel like it was meant for you to face it. It was meant for you to follow it. That's why I feel like this talks about a dream or a goal, or something along those lines. But the third one talks about the eyes. The third little pig saw it, the eyes of the wolf, in a keyhole. It was it was staring right at it. Right, it was right there. It came. Whatever it was afraid of before, it came straight at it. Like it couldn't escape. It was scared. It was still nervous, but it still did something. It still went through it. So that's why I feel like this represents some type of, obviously, our conscious level and how we deal with fear. How we deal with fear. And each pig saw something different of the wolf. Remember I said the wolf represents our fear, or it represents something that hold us trapped. Right? And when the wolf appeared to each of their homes, they looked at the keyhole. The keyhole represents obviously what they saw, but it's like the keyhole is something to these, like like a peak. They saw a peak of it. Curiosity, even. Curiosity. Your story and view of the three little pigs is a little different from the story in the Bible. It was given different abilities. It was expected to make use of what they were given. But the man, oh, I can't see the rest. Was it Starlight, Starbright, 777? Yeah, I'm going based off the story that I that came. Like I oh, the one time I didn't do anything with it, so God got mad. Oh, I think I did read this story. I gotta go refresh my memory. Do you know which verse is this, or if I can, I'm gonna go refresh my memory on this. I think I did read something like this. Is it called the Three Talents? Let me look it up. I have my laptop here. It's called Three Talents in the Bible. The parable of the talents in Matthew 25:14 tells of a master who was leaving his house to travel. Wow. And before leaving, entrusted his property to his servants. According to the abilities of each man, one servant received 5 talents, the second had received 2, and the third received only 1. Okay, let's read the story. Oh, I feel like this story resonated with me so bad. Oh God. The parable of the talents, also the parable of the minas, is one of the parables of Jesus. It appears in two of the synoptic gospel of New Testament. Which talk is very similar to Three Little Pigs. Upon his return, the master assessed the stewardship of his servants. He evaluated them according to how faithful each was in making wise investment of his goods to obtain a profit. Wow. Okay, so they were being tested. It is clear that the master sought some profit from the servants' oversight. Again indicated faithfulness on the part of the servants. The master rewarded his servants according to how each has handled his stewardship. He judged 2 servants as having been faithful and gave them a positive reward. To the single unfaithful servant who awarded you the safe profit of big interest, another compensation is given. I definitely believe what I said. Whatever what I was decoding about the Three Little Pigs definitely correlates to this story. Especially when I said that the wolf represents fear. Like the first 2 little pigs, they were afraid. Until the third one, the third one did something. The third one actually made use to what it built. It's very similar to the story. It was probably based off this story, to be honest. Okay, so the scripture is 25:14. It tells of a master who is leaving his house to travel, and before leaving, entrusted his property to his servant. According to the view of each man, yeah, I just read that. One servant received 5 talents, the second had received 2, and the third only received only 1. The property entrusted to the 3 servants was worth 8 talents, where a talent was a significant amount of money. Upon returning home after a long absence, the master asked his 3 servants for an account of the talents he entrusted to them. The first and the second servants explaining that they each put their talents to work and have double the value of the property with which they were entrusted. Each servant was rewarded. His Lord said unto him, Well done, good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler of many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. Matthew 25:23. The third servant, however, had merely hidden his talent, buried in the ground, and was punished by its master. Wow. But the thing about the Matthew 25:23, how it's different from the three little pigs. The first two pigs did nothing with what their how they invested building their home. It was terrible. They didn't build it strong. But in this story, the first two servants, they actually made use to their talent, and the third one didn't. It's very interesting. It's opposite. And it seems that they said that God or the master was upset that the third one. So the third one represents it allowed fear to overtake it. Take it. Basically, it overtake. He never made use to his talent because he was afraid or he procrastinated or avoided. But I feel like it was fear. Then he which had received the one talent came and said, Lord, I knew thee that thou art a hard man, reaping where thou hast not sown, and gathering where thou hast not strawed. And I was afraid. He was afraid. He actually said it. He was afraid, and went and hid thy talent in the earth. There thou hast that. His Lord answered and said to him, Thou wicked and sloth. Oh, he called him a sloth. One of the seven deadly sins. Thou knewest that I reap where I sow not, and gather where I have not strawed. Thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to the exchanger, and then at my coming I should have received my own with unsurety. Take therefore the talent from him, and give it unto him which hath 10 talents. For unto everyone that hath shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But from him that hath not shall be taken away, even that which he hath, and cast ye the servant to the earth. Wow, there should be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Jeez. Wow, because he was so afraid, he didn't make use of his talent. God or the master in the story punished him, and he was exiled basically because of fear. Wow. So the moral of the story, you guys, don't let fear overtake you. When you want to accomplish something, when you want to achieve your dreams and goals, don't let fear win. All you have to have faith is yourself. Like the third little pig, it had faith in itself and what it invested in, and what it had faith in its talent. You have to believe in your talent, what was gifted to you. Wow, that's very educational. Thank you so much, Starlight Starbright, for that, because I didn't even realize that. I did remember reading something like this. It was Matthew 25:23. That's the scripture. 25:23. Very informative. And there you have it, you guys. Thank you so much for bringing that up. I didn't even make the correlation until you said it. Well, that is all for today's decoding of the Three Little Pig. I do have another one that I am going to do tomorrow. So I do invite you to come on tomorrow around the same time. I'm going to decode Pocahontas. There's a message in that story. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you, Starlight. Have a good night. Okay, I'm 30.